Are you ready to untangle from your past, recover from heartbreak, and revive your life? This is Soul CPR with your host, Ann Papayoti. We've all had soul-crushing experiences and lost ourselves in our pain, but there is a way out. On this podcast, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning life coach, and advice columnist Ann Papayoti helps us navigate the path from heartbreak to healing. So now, please welcome the host of Soul CPR, Ann Papayoti.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. I wanted to say that I've had a lot of really wonderful feedback about the Letting Go series that we've had 2 shows on so far. And as promised, I will bring that third and final show to you early next month. But first, I've got a few other things I'd like to bring to the table and share with you. And with this being the new year, I've had conversations with many people who are struggling to kind of find their groove or their rhythm, if you will. And so, despite their best intention, even, and the fact that we're already halfway through the month of January, I thought it's really a great time to bring my first guest and this topic, building your foundation, mind, body, and spirit. And what we mean by that is really creating that safe and solid lifestyle, if you will, to support and nurture every aspect of your being. So, to help with that conversation and to lead us into that, is metaphysician, spirit seeker, and health passionista, the incredible and inspiring Dr. Joanna McDonald. Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. That's quite an introduction. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Of course, Joanna. So I like to always share with my audience how I know and find my guests. And once again, it's one of my passions that initially introduced us because your beautiful mom, Sharon, hello, if you're listening or watching, found and joined my Zumba class back when I was living in Pointe Claire, Quebec. And I believe you came as a guest one time, and then we got to knowing one another's stories, and you were sharing your expertise in healthy eating and living. I think you brought some brochures and talked to us when you were doing your soul food
Yeah,
blog that day. Do you remember that?
I do, and a lot has changed since then. When I look back, I can't believe how long it's been and how far I've come from that day. Yeah.
Of course. Well, we're going to get into all that about your journey, but I just love how I've noticed throughout my life that Zumba has been and continues to be that great human connector for me. And when people dance to music and where the exercise is in disguise, if you will, and they have that happy hour, if you will, I would say it's definitely part of my lifestyle foundation. And we're going to get back around to that foundation that we're talking about. But first, I want the audience to learn more about you. And I know that becoming a metaphysician has been a journey. And so let's start with the beginning in mind. And I know that for me, at least, when I think about your story, there's been 2 distinct paths that maybe intersected, one being your gifts and one being your health challenges. Um, which one of those do you want to share with us first? Because I know you'll share both.
Well, maybe I'll start with my health because that's been obviously the overpowering theme, I guess, throughout my life. And we were talking the other day about gifts that show up in your life. And I really believe that this is a big gift for me because I really wouldn't be able to do the things that I do and haven't probably would have met half the people I know due to this. So on the one hand, of course, it's been a huge journey and illness probably since about mid 20s, and I'm 51 now. So it's been quite a haul of body body illness, getting through spirituality stuff, getting through emotional blockages and trauma. And it's really helped me to understand my clients so much better because I've lived it firsthand. So for me, it's been a huge, huge gift. Um, it started really with, it's funny, it started with IBS back in the late 90s. And I really thought, okay, well, this is just something I'm going to sail through and it'll be fine. And I'll just change my diet and everything will be great. And I really wasn't all that spiritual at this time. And I really was, I could honestly say, disconnected from my body and my emotions and my spirit, to the point where I just said, okay, I'll just pop a pill and everything will be great. Well, that really began a journey of personal power and empowerment to the point where I just kept learning more and more and more about myself. And it wasn't just a simple changing of a diet, but it was an entire lifestyle that I believe I was learning. It was like I was going to school for how to be, I guess, empowered, and how to learn self-esteem and how to learn boundaries and how to learn so many things. My health has gone. It's been quite a journey. Mm-hmm.
So, all of these health challenges that you were going through, what a gamut of illness and disease. You named a lot of things
Yeah.
there: Crohn's, colitis, IBS. How did that affect your personal life?
Oh boy. Hugely. I had to make, of course, some adaptations and some, concessions, which I really didn't want to do. I resisted this disease for a long, call it a disease, for a long time. And for a lot of years, I stuck my head in the sand like an ostrich. I just really didn't want to pay attention. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to eat what everybody else was eating. And I spent a good number of years really, excuse my language, really pissed. Like, I was very angry that I had to go through this. I remember having arguments with God and why is it happening to me and what's going on. And I really resisted. And this is what led me to become extremely ill, where I was in and out of the hospital with different ailments and different things, and finally ending in cancer in the year 2000. And this is when kind of my spirituality broke open wide, and I heard spirit say to me, being an empath and a clairvoyant, I had a direct message from spirit. And I was lying in the hospital bed, and spirit said to me, okay, either you step up and you do your mission and it's going to be easier, or you can continue this way and you can die. So basically it was evolve or die. And I said to myself very reluctantly, I'm like, okay. I just completely, at that point, I remember I was lying there and I just surrendered everything, crying and the tears. And I just finally gave up the whole story of trying to fight the flow. And I said, okay, all right, this is going to take a little bit of work. And I knew it was going to take an inordinate amount of change on my part, and cooperation on my part. And I made a promise to myself then and there, that if I really wanted to get better, then I had to love myself enough to do that. And that was a huge step in that direction, because I didn't have a lot of love for self. And I really believe that that's what caused my disease in the first place, is my self-esteem was in the toilet. And I really didn't feel good about myself, and that was not helping things at all. So that was a big turning point for me.
What a testament about self-love, or the lack thereof. Something interesting you said in there, that you acknowledged that you were an empath and clairvoyant, and you had that message that you received. Then, had that been blocked, that gift blocked, while you were going through this, or when did you know that you had those spiritual gifts?
I think I woke up at that point. In hindsight, I've known all my life. I remember being a little kid and knowing things ahead of time. I knew who was going to call on the phone. I knew who was going to come over. I knew what people were going to say before they said it. But I somehow seem to have blocked all of that out. I didn't want to be that. I didn't really want to come out of the clairvoyant closet, let's say. And I really felt people were going to think I was weird and woo woo and I resisted that a long time. So when I finally did wake up in my mid 30s, I said to myself, okay, well, this is a part of who I am, and I'm just going to be who I need to be as much as I can. And that was really a huge shift, a huge shift right there.
Yeah. It makes me think that how can we love ourselves if we deny ourselves, right? And that was a big part of who you were, right? Or who you are. So once you this evolve or die, that was a so I wrote that down. I'm like, wow, that's a big statement or a big wake up call, as you said. What
Yeah.
started changing? What was the next thing for you?
The next thing for me is I really gave up a lot of my bad habits. I gave up the self-sabotage. That was a big one. I still struggle with that a little bit today. But I really that was one thing where I said, okay, I just don't want to hurt myself anymore. So out went the chips, out went the candy, out went the alcohol, out went the dairy products that I knew were not working for me whatsoever. Totally cleaned house in my friends and acquaintances department, I guess you could say, and all of the things that I really felt like, boy, this is a real drain on my energy. This is not making me feel good. Went out the door. And it was really brutal because I went through this again a couple of cycles afterwards, a couple of years later, and then during COVID and everything, while I was standing up for myself and while I was loving myself and while I decided to be me, there was a lot of people that just sort of fell off, and I let them, and I was just blessing them as they left. But it was a really lonely period for a long time because I was like, oh geez, am I gonna have to go through this like a solitary journey? Am I gonna have to do this alone and stuff? But eventually, once I made space for more and more and more and more love as the years went by, then the nicer people started to come in, and they started to match my vibration. So I had to make some big changes there. Also in my mindset, I had to lean into caring for myself every single day. So that meant a regimen of exercise. That meant a regimen of nature. That meant water, drinking water. That meant taking breaks. And I'm a self-proclaimed workaholic. I'll work till the cows come home, but I really had to force myself with a timer on my desk to get up and walk around and go outside. So it was a real 360. I really became somebody new.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that because what I heard in that, you cannot self-love and continue to self-sabotage. You you had to make changes, not just in diet, but also in environment and that included people, the people that were in your life, because toxicity for us and in our lives comes in many forms. And so, something that I heard you say as well is that as you allowed people to leave your life, you blessed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful thing to say.
Yes.
And yeah, and that you also allowed yourself then to experience
Yeah.
the loneliness that came with that open space, and you were
Yes.
able to sit with that and then
Yeah.
also then receive what came from having let go, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I work with so many people that hold on so tight to something because they don't want to be with nothing, and yet it's with that space and that emptiness that what they really deserve can actually come and meet them energetically, as you were saying. It is almost time for our first break. So I think this is a great spot to just take a moment. I want everybody to just take a moment with that and think, what maybe do you, what and whom need to let go of to make space for what you really need that's going to represent that self love and self care. All right.
Absolutely.
So, with that, don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR and Joanna.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. This is Soul CPR on Bold Brave TV. I'm Ann Papayotti here with my special guest, Dr. Joanna McDonald. And Joanna, before the break, we were talking about this, letting go and giving up of things that didn't serve you or that made you feel bad because you were working on literally healing yourself, that evolve or die. That was a pretty strong message there. So, before it was your thought was, pop a pill or whatever, but now you're really thinking differently and you've really made a lot of changes. And I know when we have a medication for something, we have a timeline, we have an idea of when we're going to feel better. But taking this holistic approach, when did things start to shift for your health?
You mean when I started to get better? Do you mean? Yeah. I've had periods of sort of intermittent remission and then illness again, and then remission and then illness again, and I'm just getting over another one of those. I'm gonna reframe it and recall it, rename it a transformational journey. To me that sounds better than I was sick. I don't like saying that I was sick. Yes, for all intents and purposes I was sick, but I really do believe that the body is able to heal itself if you give it the right ingredients and the right tools and the right environment. And for me, sometimes I think things have to break through or break down to break through. So if we look at nature as an example, the trees lose their leaves and everything regenerates itself in the springtime. I believe our body is very much the same way. And for me, this last little bit has been right about right now, actually, that I'm just starting to come back into my bloom, I guess. And it started in 2023, and I felt like I had to lose all my leaves. I had to start over again and start from scratch. There was a lot of things that weren't working, and it took about a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's, I love that kind of honest, holistic look. I think the ebb and flow of life, right? There's no just getting well and staying well. There's going to be these different experiences throughout life. And on this transformational journey that you call it, you also changed your profession. So tell us a little bit about where you were when you first started experiencing these labeled diseases and illnesses, and how that changed along with your learning on this holistic journey.
Okay. Well, in my teen years, I always had a fantasy of being in food and beverage. I always wanted to be in hospitality. I always wanted to be in some sort of bed and breakfast or catering or something. I really wanted to be a chef at one point, and I really followed that trail. And up until about 30, I was still in that industry. And I found food as a career as well, but in a completely different angle or side of things. And back then, I burnt out. I that lifestyle of working, till 3 in the morning. The bar industry and hospitality and hotel is very hard. You're on your feet a lot. You're grabbing food here and there. You're eating. Usually, you're drinking. There's alcohol around all the time. And my body just went, "Ooh," like completely, no, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too much stress and too much toxins and too much people around. And had I been paying more attention, I suppose I would have been a lot earlier. Gee, I don't know if this is for me and shift, but it took, again, a transformational journey to bring me down, to break down, to be like, okay, wow, I really need to change direction here. This is not working. And because of that, I said, I'm going to go into naturopathy and natural medicine. And this is where the metaphysics comes in, is it's a nice cross between spirituality and alternative health. Is that I didn't want to give up my passion for food, but I said, there's got to be a better way that I can be of service and be helpful and be happy and healthy at the same time. So that's really why I gravitated towards the natural health, because I was going through it myself. I was my first student, and I really had a strong belief that I never ever wanted to own a business where I didn't know what I was talking about or hadn't been in the trenches. And I'd been in the trenches. So I thought to myself, wow, this is really good. Like I've been there. I can really empathize with my clients. And the ball just started rolling from there. And I love it. I love learning. I love working in the industry. I love working in health food stores and trying recipes at home. And I just couldn't get enough. And just to this day, just before, about an hour ago, I was making muffins, and I said, oh, I like this lifestyle. This is for me. This is really for me.
Right, right. And so throughout that journey, you've taken on and received several different certifications. Give us the rundown. Throw out that list.
Well, it's a funny story actually, because I went to massage therapy school in around 2000, and I was really really pigeonholing and focused on having a bed and breakfast, and I was going to be the best innkeeper, and I was going to do this, and I wanted to go to massage so I could instruct my employees, and I was going to know what was happening in my spa. And lo and behold, I had a physiology teacher who was very woo woo, and she said to me, you'll practice spirituality and Reiki one day. And I was like, well, no, not for me. No, no, I don't even know what energy work is. Don't want to do it. Don't want to know it. I don't want to know what Reiki is. I have no idea. And lo and behold, 6 months later or a year later, I'd done all 3 levels of Reiki, Moonai Key rights, feng shui, crystal healing. I got my bachelor's, then my master's, and then I just got my doctorate last year in metaphysics. So you could say I was mistaken. And what she was right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love it because what you did is, as you learned and you healed yourself, then you began able to integrate that and help and heal others. And I think it's interesting because I see so many people who become what they always wanted to be, but it's a very different version of that. So like you said, this hospitality is this helping and catering to other people, in the food industry it's just very different. So the soul food, that is where it started for you, and then helping people live these healthy lifestyles and really enjoy their best life. So let's talk a little bit first, before we get into that foundational lifestyle, about how you learned to trust that intuition and or the universe, however, whatever you want to call it? How did you learn to trust?
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one because I'm still, I don't know if I'm 100% there yet, but I've come a long way in the last 5 years because so many good things happened to me. So I just kept following the breadcrumbs. And every time I would ask for something, I would say, gee, it would be really nice if I had dot, dot, dot. And things started to show up. I was like, oh, okay, let's try that again. And at first, I started with the weather, or I started with a coffee. Oh, I wonder if I could manifest a coffee today, or whatever. And then it was like a yoga practice or any kind of practice that you go through. I just started trusting in the trust that it was going to be there, and the more I asked, the more I received. The more I was more specific, the more I got. And my own intuition comes to me very naturally. I would say that I have a gift in that, that I knew my intuition was very, very strong from my whole life. But trusting in spirit, yeah, I really believe that there's, so much bigger out there than me. And I came to a point where I said, okay, I'm really going to step outside myself, get out of my own way, and realize that I am not the only one in this universe, and that the universe is very, very, very supportive. So every single thing we do, it's there. We just have to open our eyes to see it. And I really was in touch with my feelings a lot as well. So it was sort of like when you're young, you play that game. Oh, you're getting warmer, you're getting colder, and when things felt like, ooh, that feels good, that feels warmer, I would follow that breadcrumb, I would go there. But if it was kind of like a feeling, I was like, no, that's not for me, or not, maybe it's not for me right now. But I really learned to trust my feelings. That was very, very strong. And that's really what honed my intuition a lot, was my feelings, was being connected to my feelings.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I think we can all learn from that, because I do talk to a lot of people who say they felt they should have or should not have something, and they got the result that went that was evidence for that reason that they should or should not have. But coming to that place of really trusting is a journey in and of itself. And I think,
Yeah.
like you said, it becomes a practice, absolutely a
Yeah.
practice. So when you think of this foundational lifestyle for all of us that we need to help create maybe a balance in life, what would you say to the audience? Guide us.
Creating a balance. Well, I came across a quote the other day that I had seen before, but I'd like to just share it as a launching pad, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
It's a fairly long poem, and I'm just going to abridge it a lot, because if there's one flaw that women, specifically, I'm going to talk to women today, because, and some men as well, is that the poem goes on to say, a lot of really beautiful things about women and that, but at the end of the day, they don't know their worth. And I would say this is probably the quintessential thing that you can start with, is believing that you're worthy of receiving. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be $1 million. It doesn't have to be a pretty face. It can be whatever you want in your life, but you have to begin at, I am worthy of receiving. And that is the start of creating a foundation for yourself, and a balanced lifestyle. Because if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard to build it, if you don't believe that you can receive anything. And to me, I just feel like that's such an integral part of healing, is really just accepting yourself for being human and where you are, with all of your desirable qualities and your let's call it undesirable qualities, if you want to call it that. We all have the things that we want to change within ourselves, but we're human and we have these super perfectionistic standards in our society now with social media and everything that are unattainable. And I think a lot of us are caught up in some of those. And that would be the one thing I would say to start there if you don't know where to start or you don't know what to do, is just to lean into receiving because you're
Wow. That,
worthy of receiving it.
yeah. Belief systems are so powerful, aren't they? So
Oh,
if
incredible.
that belief, yeah. So that foundation has to be there and cemented and some cement blocks. So believing that you are worthy of receiving
Yeah,
that
exactly. And
that
the thing with the foundation is that, like, to me, it's like it's systematic. It's like building a home. You know, you can put up walls and you can put up curtains and you can paint and everything, but if you don't have a strong foundation underneath you, your house is probably going to collapse, right?
yeah,
So it's a really systematic way of doing things. And I really feel like if you have a strong foundation, then the waves and the winds of life can come and go, but you're going to be the lighthouse as opposed to the rowboat in the storm. You can still shine your light on solid ground and you can still be of service, but you don't lose yourself in the melee of whatever is out there and trying to rescue people in your boat and everything. That just never works. So be the lighthouse as much as you can.
beautiful. I love that. And with that, it is time for our second break. So don't go far. We'll be back with more with Dr. Joanna McDonald and Soul CPR.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Mike Zoric, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zoric, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zoric has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
And we are back with Joanna McDonald today, and we are just talking about those foundational kind of lifestyle things to make sure we live in balance and harmony. So, Joanna, the first thing that you shared was really about believing that we're worthy, and that without that, nothing else really matters. So, what can we build on, or what's next? What do we build on from there?
Okay, well, take it from me, from somebody who lived a life of not having a foundation and just going willy-nilly without intention or anything anywhere. I got very sick and very lost, and I took so many detours. I would say that the first step, of course, is leaning into believing in yourself and believing that you're worthy, believing you deserve. And I don't know if many people ask themselves really what they want to do in life. So that would be another step too, is to really sit down and think about what do I want? Where do I want to go? Is this really making sense for me? Or is this something my family wants me to do, or my husband or wife is pressuring me to encouraging me to do? What is it that you really, really, really want to do, and try it? The second thing I would say is to create a realistic plan of goals and daily habits for yourself. So for me, they may be very different from you, or from my mom, or from my aunt, or from my best friend. For me, walking every day works, and yoga and stretching and gentle breathing and meditation really works for me. Dancing works for me, but that might not be everybody's cup of tea. So really lean into setting yourself some goals and some habits that suit your lifestyle. For a long time, I said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. It's going to be 5 days a week. I'm going to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm going to pump iron, and are you crazy? I'm not even a morning person. And after a while, I was like, Joanna, like, who are you kidding? Like, I kept failing and failing. And I'm like, this is not for me. Like, this is not a doable goal for me. So I really found a timeline that suited me. And it took me a couple of years. But that's number two, is create a realistic plan for yourself of habits that you can do to support yourself. So it might just be as simple as drinking more water, and you start there. It might be as simple as, putting yourself together a little bit more if you feel like uncomfortable in your jogging pants every day. We're all different, right?
Yeah.
And then step three is to discover your why. And Simon Sinek talks a lot about this, a lot about discovering your why, because this is really what's going to get you out of bed in the morning. And when you remember your why, it's a lot easier to stick to your goal. So, for example, for me, I really want to increase my flexibility. So, I do yoga every day because my goal is to increase my flexibility. And I'm reminded of my goal while I'm doing it. So the days that I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not sure, I feel like doing yoga or whatever, I'm like, okay, remember your why. What is your why? What's your big goal of why you want to get to that goal? So for some people, it could be they want to lose weight, they want to stop smoking, they want to, get outside of the house more. Whatever your why is, put it on a little post-it note somewhere where you're going to see it every day, so that you can remind yourself when you go and lean sort of into those habits that are not taking you down that road, to remind yourself of why you're doing it in the first place, to be motivated. Okay, no, I don't want to make that choice today. I want to make this choice, and this is where I'm going to go to take me closer to my goals. I find it very easy when you have a visual cue to remind you every day of why you're doing your thing.
I agree with you. And I use post-it notes for everything. Dan, this is a note for you. I'll talk to you after the show today. So I love that. And I talk about turn your goals into habits often. Habits really are what change our lives for the better or worse, right? So we got to pay attention to our habits. Sometimes I think just evaluating our habits, looking at our day, how are we spending our time? What are our habits that exist now? And what do we want to change to reach that overarching goal like you're talking about? And one thing that I was reading about recently, James Clear, Atomic Habits, author of Atomic Habits. That's a great book, by the way, is habit stacking. So when you're trying to introduce a new habit, it's to stack it or tack it onto something you already do. So like we already brush our teeth twice a day, hopefully, right? So if that's already a routine for you, then you add that something new just before it or just after it, so that you get that routine set for that. So let's say something I've started doing is inversion, because my son gave me one of those little inversion little things that you stand upside down, do the headstands, but you got the pads for you. So if I'll do it right after I brush my teeth in the morning, it's now becoming a new habit that's when I do it. I don't have to think about it or reschedule it or find that time. It's just brush my teeth, do my handstand for 2 minutes or whatever. So habit stacking is a good way to help people make habits that stick, if that makes sense. So I love that. I love the habits and the why. Absolutely. Remembering the why and the visual. Yes, Joanna. I agree with you. Some people, I suggest making it your screensaver on your phone, because that, how many times do we look at that in a day, right? So, or right in front of your computer, or just that sticky note on your computer. So, um, wherever you spend a lot of time. So love that. Those are great for those foundational lifestyle um, transformations that we're talking about to help us get in balance. Because, like I said at the top of the show, so many people I've talked to are struggling with just getting this new year kicked off and finding and feeling like they've found their rhythm for the year. So I love those. So, Joanna, when we talk about this and this path that you've taken for yourself to heal yourself and to help others, how rewarding has this been for you?
Very, very rewarding, very humbling, I would say. Very, I'm honored that after, thousands of clients and experiences of meeting people on retreat and workshops and different things that we've done. It's very humbling that I'm very honored that they share their stories with me, and they trust me enough to open up to share some of the most vulnerable parts of themselves. So I consider myself very privileged to walk with them on their journey, because I mean, I don't know. I know there's lots of choices out there for practitioners, and I'm just very honored and happy that they feel safe, I guess, working with me. Yeah, very
That's
rewarding.
that's very beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about that journey, because as I said, when I met you, you were, it was soul food, and then I know it became soul space, and I was a client for you, and I had an amazing like spiritual card reading with you, and then I know you were doing circles, and I sent one of my clients to you to
Yes.
participate in a group. Um, uh, and I don't know if that was like a reading. I know you've taught meditation and do group meditations, and now you've moved on and you've changed your business model a bit, because now you're doing more, you're serving a wider audience on a larger scale. So tell us about that.
I am. Thank you for asking. Yes, it did, of course, start out small. One of my friends, one day when I moved back from Calgary to Montreal, where I am now, one of my friends said, "Oh, can you come over and do a card reading?" And I said, "Oh, okay, sure." I kind of dabbled with it on the side, and I did hers, and it was a pretty successful reading. And then lo and behold, my phone started ringing and people were calling from all over the place. I was blessed with a friend, Leanne, if she's watching, who told everybody, basically town crier, told everybody, "Oh, Joanna does readings." Oh, I do, really? Okay. And so it started from there, and I guess I had to learn through experience, and I learned energy management. I learned chakra system. I learned readings. I learned cards, talking with spirit. I learned a lot about land energy. So for some people, they may be familiar with my travel vlog, where I go around to different places and I listen to the energy of the land, and I help to heal the land with spirit. So I went through soul spaces, and then I went through the gardening, land energy part of it, and then now I'm branching. We still do workshops and retreats and whatnot, but I'm branching into a lot more of conferences and speaking on a wider scale, I guess, because I really feel like the time is now where people, the message is there, and I just really want to help people to walk on their journey. And we need that. We all need the love. We all need the care. And whatever way I can pitch in, I'm more than happy to assist in any way I can. So I like speaking. You can tell I like talking. And I really like meeting people too. I mean, I've met so many wonderful people in my life of all walks of life. And I just love hearing people's stories. So that's also a big motivator for me too, is to meet different people.
I love that. It's just another, it sounds like it's just another transformation and another evolution
Yes.
of you and another growth and another
Well, you talk about
season.
foundation. Think I had to start and create a nice foundation for myself, and I had to learn a lot as I went along. And before I could teach or before I could even speak, and if you told me about even 10 years ago that I would be online on a video or talking in front of people, I'd be like, well, no, thanks, not for me. But now I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I think life is just a progression of that. You never lose any kind of experience you have in your toolbox, and yeah, you just keep going and learning as you go.
That's wonderful. Well, I think that your expertise is highly valuable, and I think it would be amazing to hear you speak. I know when we were talking before the show, I was like, I could see you speaking at universities to groups like that, and beyond. I could really see you affecting change. So, Joanna, it is time for our third and final break, and when we come back, we're going to have some closing thoughts and some key takeaways for our audience. So, don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And we are back. So, Joanna, just to kind of recap this whole foundational building that we were talking about. So, to be the lighthouse, we want to start with believing that we're worthy of receiving. We want to create a realistic plan and goal with daily habits to support that goal. And then we want to discover our why. Before we move into key takeaway, do you have a tip for that, creating that believing in ourselves, in our worthiness? Do you have a tip or something that worked for you when you were struggling with that yourself?
Yes, I do actually. I have a memory where I was reading something somewhere about 10, 15 years ago that said, in all of the universe, in all of time, past, present, future, there'll never be another you, ever. Our voices are unique. Our cellular structure is unique. Our past life memories are unique. Our biological structure is unique. Even twins are completely different, even though they may look alike. So that really helped me to turn the corner, because I said to myself, well, not that I wanted to put on airs and be like, oh, well, there's only one of me and blah, blah, blah. It was more like, well, there's only one of me. So if I may as well step up and show the world what I am and what I can offer and be of service that way. Because obviously I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe in God very strongly, and believe in God and spirit. And I said, if God or spirit had the wherewithal to build me and to create me for a reason, then I'm going to honor that and I'm going to be that. And that really helped me to stick with the leaning into the deserving, because I said, well, why not? I mean, if my neighbor deserves it, or my dog deserves it, or I looked at all of my friends too, and I said, well, there's not a minute that goes by that I wouldn't say my friends. If I looked at my best friend, I'd be like, oh yeah, you totally deserve it, girl, you know? But why was it so different for me, right? So I said, okay, let's take this ego out of it a little bit and remind yourself that there's only one of you and you're here for a purpose. And, you know, you need to honor that purpose. It's either that or evolve or die, right? We need to always keep upgrading ourselves to really give our heads a shake a little bit sometimes and be like, yeah, is that the truth? No. Just telling yourself a story. You know, so that's what really got me through. And that's the tip, is to really honor your uniqueness. And that helps a lot.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that so much. All right. Well, with that, if you had a key takeaway, which to me that whole thing was, but if you had another key takeaway for the audience today about building their foundation or anything else that we've shared, what would it be?
Key takeaway. I would say that a lot of my clients say to me, "Oh, I don't have time. I can't afford it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do it because dot dot dot." Or I'm just going to squeeze in a yoga class in between picking my daughter up or my son or whatever, from ballet or baseball. And these things are very important. Don't get me wrong. Family is very important. But I would lean into reminding yourself that life is short, and nobody knows how long we're going to be here. Nobody knows tomorrow if that's going to be your last day. And I would really, you know, make some time for yourself, carve out some time for yourself. You're important as well, just like, you know, the dad or the mom or the kid or the dog or whatnot. Everybody is so important, and self-care is for everybody. And it's not just, oh, I'll squeeze it in when I've got 5 minutes, or you know, when the kids are whatever, everybody else is taken care of, I'll deal with me. It's put yourself in the schedule and make sure that you do that, because life is short and time goes by so fast. And I say to myself, I'm like, oh, here we are, Friday again. Woo, the week just went again. And
Yes.
before you know it, you might be at the end of your life and you're like, yeah, I really wish I would have done that then. So nobody wants to have any regrets at the end of their life. So do it now. Do enjoy your life. Do what you got to do. Do what you want to do. Make space for the joy, because the work and the stress and the chores will always be there. But, you know, find the time to do what you want to do. That's all I
I
can say.
love
Don't.
so much. Absolutely. And all of that self-care and prioritizing self and all of that, it comes back to also I believe is something you were talking about earlier. We have to know ourselves and spend time getting to know yourself and really embracing yourself so you can then love yourself and rid yourself of those self-sabotaging behaviors and the habits. I'm going to go ahead and call them the bad habits or the underserving habits and the things that hold you back from living that best life, and that cracks in that foundation, right? So all of
Absolutely.
that.
And distractions, I'll just finish too by saying distractions are such a detriment to self care. The word of the day is focus. Focus, focus, focus. And the universe will, if you're serious about this, will really help you focus. And to the point now where I really turn off my phone and I'm very focused on what I want to do, and there's nothing going to stop me going towards what I want to do with my joy. So just remember that we have so many distractions around, that just focus on what you love, and then the universe will open more and more doors for you to go do more of that. So
That's a beautiful thought. Wonderful. All right, Joanna. So how can our audience get in touch with you?
Oh, I would love that. My website is joannamcdonald.ca, and I have a plethora of resources on there. If you want to look at videos or podcasts or anything, this will be up and live probably this afternoon. I have some free meditations on there. I also, as I mentioned to you while we were chatting before, free 21-day intuition, mastering your intuition. And don't get scared by the title. It's really about reconnecting with yourself. So it's a 21-day plan to reconnect with yourself, and every day it's a nice good habit to add to your repertoire. And when I was creating it, I went through the whole thing myself, and I thought, oh, this is really, really cool, because it helped me stay on a nice structure to self-care. So it's a nice place to start to come back to yourself.
I love that. I thank you for sharing that with the audience. And it's there on the screen. So joannamcdonald.ca. And then you've got the www.joannamcdonald.ca/videos -podcasts -meditations. And this will be in the show notes, as well as Joanna's other social media links. And I appreciate you so much being on the show today and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, your expertise, and just the gift of your time as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Anne. It's been a pleasure, and I was so looking forward to this. You're such an angel.
Well, thank you again. Thank you. So as we close out today's show, I just want to say to everyone that if today's stories resonated with you, then please do share this podcast with someone who made it a lifeline of their own. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. You can always connect with me on social media. On Facebook, it is Skyview Coaching. On the other apps, it is at Ann Papayotti. Let me know your thoughts, your stories, and the topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. And until next time, may you find strength in your vulnerability and courage in your journey. Thank you for listening. Breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully. Good day.
This has been Soul CPR with host Ann Papayotti. Breathe life back into your spirit with each episode, where she and special guests explore the relationships that hurt us and discover that healing can only begin with you. Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.